Yo, 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 what is up, YouTube? BK Brad Kellner. Today is Monday, February 21st, 2022. Happy President's Day to all of you out there. Hopefully, y'all had a 3-day weekend. I did not. I had to work today, although I don't know if what I do is considered work. I've got the best job in the entire world. But we're talking Texas Longhorn sports on today's video, recapping the busy weekend it was on the 40 acres. Of course, the Texas men's basketball team falling to Texas Tech on Saturday. That was the bad. The good, the Texas baseball team dominating Rice in a 3-game season opening sweep of the Owls. Texas baseball outscoring Rice 36-3 at the Dish over the weekend. A crazy crowd for all 3 games in Austin, a beautiful weekend in Austin. And the Longhorn baseball team absolutely delivered on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with 3 very, very impressive wins. And really the exact opposite of a start for Texas baseball. Remember last year in Arlington, the 3-game opening weekend series at Globe Life Field where the Rangers play against the 3 SEC teams. Texas went 0-3, and they got blasted in all 3 of those games. And people were asking questions about Texas baseball. They were asking questions about David Pierce. There was some excitement and enthusiasm going into last season, and then Arlington happened, and it's like, oh my God, is this team going to suck? Like, what just happened? Well, Texas ended up having a pretty damn successful year, making it all the way to Omaha before finishing 3rd or 4th in the College World Series. A disastrous start to 2021, a phenomenal start to 2022. My man CB already in the building. Yeah, the Hispanic Titanic, Ivan Melendez, the Latino Bambino, whatever you want to call him, a couple of moonshots in the series finale yesterday. You hang him, he bangs him. Don't make a mistake against that guy. It's going to cause some problems. So a dominant weekend for Texas Longhorn baseball, the number 1 team in the country going into the year, and we saw a number of reasons why over the last 3 days. So that's the good. The bad, though, Texas basketball, and we'll start with Texas basketball, although we're a couple minutes into this video, and I just talked Texas baseball, so I don't know if I can say start, but we'll go Texas basketball right now. If you're subscribed to this channel, number 1, thank you. Just surpassed 2,000 subscribers. So appreciate y'all's continued love and support. It means the world to me. But you saw, if you are subscribed, you saw that I released a video maybe 2 hours ago, sort of recapping the Texas game against Texas Tech and giving more of a state of the program for Texas basketball as we sit here with just 4 games remaining in the regular season of year 1 of the Chris Beard era. Sort of the point of that video. And once this live stream is over, I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out if you haven't seen it yet. I was just telling Texas fans to relax. Like, everything's going to be okay. Was Saturday disappointing? Absolutely. Losing is always disappointing. Losing to rival teams, and you guys disagree with me. I consider Texas Tech a rival. Some of y'all don't. Look, Texas Tech considers UT a bigger rival than Texas considers Texas Tech. There's no doubt about that. I still consider Texas Tech a rival. So losing a rivalry game sucks. Losing at home sucks. Getting swept by anybody sucks. Obviously, the Chris Beard element makes the loss sting a little bit more with what took place on Saturday. But, man, this team's still in a good spot. Now, the NCAA tournament committee before the game on Saturday released its top 16 seeds, and Texas was in there at number 16, meaning if the season ended today, Texas would have been a 4 seed. I should say Saturday because that's when it was released. If the season ended Saturday, Texas would have been a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. Not too shabby. It took Shaka Smart 6 years to get to anything higher than a 6 seed. And, okay, Texas loses on Saturday, so maybe they fall to the 5 line. Still, year 1 of the Chris Beard era, if you're a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, not bad at all. I understand the hype and optimism going into the year with the preseason ranking and some of the stuff that Chris Beard said at his introductory press conference. I get it. But, man, this team has not won a tournament game in 8 years. They haven't been to the second weekend since 2008. Chris Beard walked into not a great situation. I don't want to say a super tough situation, but not a great situation. And, look, he did have to rebuild the entirety of this Texas basketball roster, and he had to kind of take over a program that's been relatively dormant over the last decade or so. So, I think we're fine with Chris Beard. I gave the Aaron Rodgers RELAX earlier today in the video I released. Like, everything's going to be okay. Texas is fine. A few Texas fans, I was listening to a Twitter Spaces. I think Burnt Orange Nation did it after the game on Saturday. And multiple Texas fans were comparing Chris Beard to Tom Herman, which I thought was crazy. Like, to me, that's a compliment to Tom Herman. I never thought people would ever praise or compliment Tom Herman. Anytime I said anything positive about that dude during my radio time in Austin, it was like I was trying to spread communism. People hated that guy. And like Chris Beard has done such a better job than Tom Herman in year one. It's not even funny. Tom Herman in his first year went 6-6, and he inherited a lot of good players from Charlie Strong. It wasn't a perfect situation, of course, but he didn't have to completely rebuild the roster like Chris Beard did. And Tom Herman went 6-6, which, like, the college basketball equivalent to 6-6 is being one of the last four teams in the tournament and having to play in a first four game in Dayton. Like, that's what Tom Herman basically did in year one. Being a 5 seed, which is where Texas probably is right now, that's like 9-3. That would have been a 9-3 year one for Tom Herman. So I don't quite get that comparison there. Also, look, Chris Beard doesn't have the most easygoing personality in the world. He rubs some people the wrong way. I get that. But he's done a much better job than Tom Herman ever did at appeasing the stakeholders of the University of Texas. I mean, Tom Herman during his time in Austin pissed off just about everybody there was to piss off. And Chris Beard has, from day one, tried to engage students, try to engage alumni, reached out to former players and coaches to get them back involved with the program. He has been his own biggest cheerleader, and he has done everything right when it comes to trying to get people excited about Texas basketball. And I think he's succeeded at that. The crowds this year at the Irwin Center have been a lot better than what they have been in recent memory. So I don't get that comparison at all. Trey's making the comparison. Yeah, see, that's bad. It's terrible take, Trey, my old co-host in Austin, back at it. I don't think the comparison is apt at all. I really don't think it makes any sense to compare those two guys right now. I think it's been a pretty successful year one for Chris Beard, and I think things are going to get better. I mean, year one in Lubbock, Chris Beard went 18-14. Tech missed the tournament. What did they do in year two? They made it to the Elite Eight. And then in year three, they're playing for a national championship. You don't close the book on a coach. I would have said this about Tom Herman. I did say this about Tom Herman. You don't close the book on a coach after 1 year. And hell, we're not even done with year one for Chris Beard. And there are Texas fans seemingly having buyer's remorse already with this guy. I just don't get it. Mark Adams is doing a great job in Lubbock. One of the front runners for National Coach of the Year. I don't want to take anything away from him, but he walked into a better situation. I know he had to rebuild his roster this offseason, but that house was already built by Chris Beard. The culture was already there. He was already a part of that program. He knew what it took to be successful and to win and recruit in Lubbock. And he walked into a great situation. Now, has he made renovations to increase the value of the home? Sure, absolutely. He's doing a great job. More expensive house on Zillow now in Lubbock, but that's not what Chris Beard walked into. He walked into a program that hadn't won a game in 8 years, that has a barn as a stadium. I know the Moody Center's coming next year, but not a great stadium right now. And once again, Texas has been a dormant program for a while. So I don't know. There's some thoughts on Texas basketball. You need more from Marcus Carr. You need more from Timmy Allen. Those two things go without saying. Those guys weren't good enough to beat anybody, let alone a team as good as Texas Tech. And Texas Tech's really good. It's a top 10 team. It's a matchup problem for the Longhorns. Cousin made a wager on Texas Tech going into Saturday. I just don't think the Longhorns match up well with Texas Tech at all. Texas Tech's a better team, number one, but they're long, they're athletic. Texas is neither of those things, especially without Trey Mitchell. Like, Texas loses a lot of length with Trey Mitchell not being there. That doesn't help. So Tech's a bad matchup. They're a better team right now than Texas. I'll give them credit. They got the win. They got the sweep this year. Tech fans are talking shit. They're obnoxious, but they deserve to talk shit. They're having a great year. Anyone have any Trey Mitchell updates? I do not, morbidly obese. I'm sorry. I've got nothing for you. I haven't heard anything about Trey Mitchell. I haven't dug as much as I probably should have dug. But no information on Trey Mitchell and when he is coming back to Texas basketball. This is not a transfer situation or anything like that. It's just a personal issue, personal reasons. That was what we were told. So it would have been nice to have him on Saturday. No doubt about that. Could have used that extra length. But yeah, agreed. I mean, high expectations preseason. Look, Chris Beard said some things at his introductory press conference. I get that. He said, don't put an asterisk by this year. We want to be great in year one. We want to succeed this season. We want to compete for championships. in year one. And I'm glad he said that. That's cool. That's letting your nuts hang a little bit at your introductory press conference. He set some expectations. And look, the media had Texas as a top 5 team going into the season. So when you're not top 5 and when you don't look like you're going to be playing in that Monday night game that Chris Beard talked about, then I guess things can feel a little underwhelming. But, man, I think they're fine. I think Texas will be okay. And look, Texas hired Chris Beard to have success in March. That's what Shaka Smart couldn't do. That's what Rick Barnes couldn't do at the end of his era. We'll see what happens in March. And the most important month of the season isn't even here yet. The good news is Texas is a lock to make it to the NCAA tournament. That's great news because in the last few years, last year notwithstanding, but more often than not in the Shaka Smart era, we were having bubble conversations. Will Texas get in? Not where will Texas play when they get in or who will Texas play when they get in. It was more of an if than a win for Texas basketball. Not really the case this year. So I think they're fine, guys. We'll see what happens in March. The most important time of the year is coming up. We're getting there. But 4 regular season games left, conference tournament in Kansas City, then the NCAA tournament. A lot of opportunity for Texas to make this a really successful year one for Chris Beard. I already think it's been fine. I really do. Of course, March will determine if that's the case. If Texas gets in as a 5 seed, but they lose to a 12, hard to call this a successful year one. But if they're a 5 seed, hell, if they're a 6 seed and get to the Sweet 16, I'd call that a pretty successful first year for Chris Beard. I think you're crazy if you don't, considering where this program has been. 2008, guys, the last time Texas made it to the Sweet 16. If you do that in year one, I don't care where you start the season in the rankings. That's a step in the right direction. Moody Center coming in next year. Great recruiting class coming in next year. You know Beard's going to hit the transfer portal. He's going to have to because a lot of these guys are leaving after this season. You know the team's going to look pretty damn good on paper next season too. They'll be fine. They're fine this year. They will be fine next year. I just am stunned at how many Longhorn fans seem to be pressing the panic button with Chris Beard and this basketball team. Making comparisons to Tom Herman. Come on, guys. Ridiculous. Thank you, Chris. Rocking the Domino's shirt. Shout out to Ike, listener from my time in Austin at the Horn. He's like a Domino's regional sales manager. He hooked me up with this. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that because I don't know if I'm supposed to have this shirt, but I love it. He asked me, like, if I give this to you, will you wear it? And I'm like, yes. He's like, no way. You're not going to wear a Domino's shirt. I said, dude, all the time. Love Domino's. So, yeah, free shirt. Absolutely. 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 What's up, Wags? Because they're not realistic. Yeah, I talked about this in the recorded video I dropped a couple of hours ago. Like, on one hand, I'm glad people are passionate about Texas basketball again. Because over the last decade, it's felt like there's been a large feeling of apathy towards Texas basketball. And I know Texas hoops will never be Texas football or Texas baseball. I get that. But college basketball is still a big deal. And I want Texas to be good at basketball. I want Texas fans to be proud of their basketball program. And at times, it's been tough to be proud of Texas hoops over the last few years. I'm glad people are passionate. I'm glad people care. I'm glad people are watching these games and tweeting about these games and watching me do these videos on YouTube. It's great because there hasn't always been that sort of energy towards Texas Longhorn basketball over the last few years. But, yeah, there are also some crazy-ass takes from Texas fans. Like every time they lose, it's Chris Beard. What's wrong with him? Is he the right guy? Did we screw this up? It's like the same people were willing to give Shaka Smart a 7th year despite no tournament wins in years 1 through 6. They're like calling for Chris Beard's job midway through a pretty successful first season. I don't quite get it. I don't quite get it. Appreciate you stopping by, Wags. Yeah, Sweet 16 does feel like a realistic expectation. I saw Jerry Palm from CBS release a bracketology earlier today. He has Texas as a 5 seed. And he's got Tennessee as the 4 seed in that region. Okay, Texas already beat Tennessee this year. I wouldn't mind that matchup in the second round. That's a winnable game for the Longhorns. You get a 12 seed. Ideally, you beat them. You're going to be favored against them and then get Tennessee, a team you already beat this year. I don't know if the committee will do that. I feel like they usually try to avoid rematches early in the tournament. At some point, you get to the second weekend. You can't always help it. But sign me up for that. Texas wins those 2 games. They get a crack at a 1 seed. Okay. Almost feels like house money at that point. Once again, that'd be the first second weekend appearance for the Longhorns since 2008. They lost to Derrick Rose that year, guys. Think about how long ago that was when Derrick Rose was in college. Kansas won the national championship that year. It's a good year for me. Good year for me. JP, appreciate you stopping by. Yeah, Beard will be fine, guys. Everything's going to be okay. I'm amazed at some of the stuff I've seen and read over the last few days. It's crazy to me. Saturday was frustrating. Absolutely. Losing always sucks, but they're safely in the tournament. They're a 4 or a 5 seed right now. They've got 2 winnable games this week. Home against TCU on Wednesday, at West Virginia on Saturday. Coliseum's never easy, but West Virginia is not good this year. They're dead last in the Big 12. They're only 2 games over 500 as a team. Like, Texas will be favored going into that game. I think it'll be close, but I think the Longhorns will be favored. So you go 2-0 this week. That's 10 conference wins for the Longhorns. Then you get Baylor at home and Kansas on the road. Probably dogs in both of those, but you beat Kansas once already. You've been a lot better at home than you've been on the road this year. So I wouldn't pick Texas to win either of those 2 games. But if they take care of business this week, that's 10 wins. That's 10-8 in conference play, safely in the tournament. Some quality wins in conference and out of conference with that Tennessee game. You're fine. Then go to Kansas City, win a game or 2, improve your seed line, whatever. All good. Chris Beard's in a good spot. Oh, yeah, Memphis vacated everything. So I guess Texas lost to nobody in that 08 NCAA tournament. Good point, CB. Good point, CB. Same thing for Sark. It's instant success or bust. Yeah, look, and Chris Beard's year 1 is so much better than Sark's year 1. Like, I'm not closing the book on Sark yet, and he went 5-7. Like, 5-7 for Texas football is like Shaka Smart's 11-21 year a couple of years in. Like, 5-7 is missing the tournament altogether. That's not where Texas is at all. So I don't even know if that's an apt comparison, comparing those 2. I know that's not what you're doing, Jonathan, but yeah, no, a lot of people just want instant success. You get that big name, you pay a lot of money, you want results right away. I get it. It's part of being a fan. Short for fanatic, as my man Rod Babers always says. But things will be fine for Texas basketball. Keep the comments coming, guys. Light crowd tonight. It's all right. Appreciate all of you guys stopping by. Who did my decorating? I did. Come on, Wags. This is all me. The filing cabinet is not mine. I'm living kind of at a buddy's house, and that was here when I got here. I haven't even looked in there. Who knows? Maybe there is a body in there. But all the other stuff, that's all me, baby. Keep my body somewhere else, though, not in my bedroom. Hope you're doing well, brother. Need to see you soon. They want Shaka to get a year 7. Yeah. Yeah, look, Marquette's a good team this year. They're in the tournament right now. They have lost 4 of their last 6 games. Not that I'm checking on my ex-girlfriend or anything like that. But Chris Beard's a better coach, I think, than Shaka Smart is. It was the right move for Texas to make. No question. So, are you guys rooting for Shaka Smart? Where y'all at with that? I'm back and forth. I know it's the nice thing and probably the right thing for me to say that I'm rooting for Shaka Smart to be successful at Marquette. I'm almost not. Like, he's a good dude, obviously. It was great to me. It was great to all the media during his time in Austin. But, like, it would be very frustrating if he went somewhere else and started winning a bunch of games and started having success in the tournament after not being able to do that in Austin. That would piss me off a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I probably should lie and say that I'm rooting for him, but I'm not really. I can't lie to y'all. Nothing personal. Just how I am. Good point, Chris. Yeah, David Pierce missed the NCAA tournament, finished last in the Big 12. Didn't even make the Big 12 tournament in 2019. And things have been fine since then for Texas baseball. They're number 1 in the country. Great opening weekend for Texas baseball. I'll talk more about that if y'all want. I'll definitely do some more recorded videos in the not-too-distant future talking Texas baseball. Dominant opening weekend performance against Rice, outscoring the Owls 36-3. Starting rotation looked great. All 3 guys were dominant. Bullpen, even, I don't want to call them no names, but sort of, non-marquee guys in the Texas bullpen looked great over the weekend. Some dudes pumping 97, 98 in a blowout yesterday on Sunday of a non-con series. Texas has depth in its pitching staff. They've got some dudes at the plate. Ivan Melendez, obviously the 2 bombs. Good to see Silas Ardoin get off to a hot start at the dish. Trey Faltini, a couple of good at-bats too. Texas baseball looks pretty complete. Shout out to my man Kevin Dunn. Dropped an episode of the Everyone Gets a Trophy podcast with Paul Wadlington, and they talked a lot of Texas baseball. So if you're looking for some Texas baseball content, check that out. Everyone Gets a Trophy podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Joe Cook and I will record the 1-0 podcast later this week. We'll give our thoughts on Texas baseball, but a lot to like. Rice, first-year head coach with Jose Cruz Jr. They're a rebuilding team. There's no doubt, but Texas is good. There's no doubt about that either. How do I feel about Purdue? They're good, man. Until I see the Boilermakers make a Final Four, I can't pick them to make a Final Four. Like, is this team Final Four good? Sure. Jaden Ivey's a top 5 pick. Zach Edey's like 8 feet tall. Stefanovic is a knockdown shooter from 3. Gilly's like they've got dudes. They've got pieces. And they're going to be a 1 or a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, more than likely. But yeah, they always come up short in March. Like, I can't pick them to make a Final Four. This is one of Matt Painter's most talented teams, and if there are any Boilers fans in here, they'll probably crap on me for that logic, but that's just where I am with the Boilers. So they're good. They've got some talent, man. And yeah, Ivey's a hell of a player. Excited to watch that guy at the next level. I agree, though. Zags are the most complete team in the country. Until they win a national championship, there are always going to be haters because of the conference they play in. But the Zags are legit, man. Like, they beat up. Ken Palm had a really good write-up about Gonzaga basketball last week. Like, whenever Gonzaga plays Power 5 teams or Power 6 teams with college basketball, if you want to throw the Big East in there, they hold their own. They've got a better winning percentage against those 6 teams, those 6 conference teams, than any team in college basketball over the last 5 years. And they usually don't get to play the Northwesterns of the world. They usually don't get to play the Vanderbilts of the world. Like, when they're playing non-con games, it's usually in an early season matchup or in the tournament when they're playing against big dogs. And they win those games more often than not. So I'm a huge Mark Few fan. Gonzaga's awesome. They are the most complete team. They were my pick to win it all last year. Let me down. That Baylor team was something special. Good chance the Zags are my pick to win it all this year. Maybe I should have the same logic with them that I do with Purdue, though, huh? Until they win it all, I shouldn't pick them to win it all. Maybe. JP, it's like how I feel about my ex-girlfriends. Didn't end badly, have no animosity, wish them all well, but happy with my wife. Yeah. Do you wish them all well, though? Like, of course, you might not wish harm upon them, but, like, do you wish them well? Do you want them to find someone better than you? Do you want them to have more success after you? I don't know, JP. You're a better man than I. It's a low bar to cross, though. Don't take that as too much of a compliment. Just kidding, brother. Oh, man. Bitter white guy is rooting for Shaka and against Beard. He's not the only one, I promise. He's not the only one doing that. That is a very bitter take from bitter white guy, though. He's a good dude. Like that guy, though. All right. What else? What else is on y'all's mind? I'll go for a few minutes. I want to watch this Kanye West documentary on Netflix. Has anybody seen that yet? Apparently it's 3 parts. The first part was dropped last week. Second part comes out Wednesday. Heard very good things. I think that's what I'm watching tonight. Watched the movie Law Abiding Citizen last night before going to bed. That movie's awesome. Jamie Foxx, Gerard Butler. I love that movie. Probably more than I should. I looked at Rotten Tomatoes rating last night after watching it. It's got like 25% from the critics. I think it's amazing. Random movie, TV talk. Kind of a slowish sports night. Olympics are over. A couple of college basketball games on, but no NBA yet. Still in the All-Star break. No combine just yet for the NFL. A little bit of a lull on the sports calendar. SpaceXC, appreciate that. Love the Coogan family. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, that's Sweet 16. I'd be thrilled for Texas basketball. I haven't been to a Sweet 16 since 2008. So if they made it that far, I'd be very happy. Look, if they win a tournament game, I'll be happy. Like, I don't know if I can call that a really successful season if they win one tournament game and then fall in the second round. And considering the expectations for this team going into the year, that would feel a little bit underwhelming, but just a tournament win would feel so nice. It's been so long. But yeah, Sweet 16, you get there, anything else is house money. Appreciate the kind words, though. Appreciate you stopping by, man. Thank you very much. Oh, you watched Law Abiding Citizen last night? Yeah, it was on CMT. I don't know why. It was on CMT when I started the movie, and there were just commercials because it was on TV, and I was like, I'm not doing this. So I popped over to Netflix and watched it start to finish. Great movie. Chet Holmgren is a stud for the Zags. Yeah, that guy, he's one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player to watch in all of college basketball. Might be the number one pick in the NBA draft. He's 7 foot, but he's got some handles. He's got some range. The guy's a stick. I mean, the guy is a stick. He weighs, I don't know what he weighs. It looks like he weighs like $130, and he's 7 feet tall. That probably isn't true. That doesn't really make any sense, but it's hilarious to watch that dude on the court, and it's even more hilarious that he's really freaking good, and he makes guys look foolish at times. Also a monster defensively. Hard not to be with that length and that lank that he's got. Insane. Yeah, Showtime Lakers, Wax. I'll be checking that out too. I'm excited to see that little documentary. Is that ESPN? Is that HBO? I can't even remember who's putting that together. But looking forward to that as well. All right, we'll go for a few more minutes, guys. Any final questions, comments, thoughts, observations? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'm not pressing the panic button on Chris Beard or Texas basketball at all. It's a good team. They're a 4 or 5 seed right now. They're in a good spot, and it's year 1 for Chris Beard. I feel like I don't even need to say give him time because he's doing well in his first season, but things will get better with time. I'll eat my words if I'm wrong, but you guys know how I feel about Chris Beard. I've felt this way about Chris Beard for a long time. Still excited that he's in Austin. Wikipedia says Chet Holmgren is 190. I'm not buying it. I don't think I'm buying it either. He's definitely not morbidly obese like you are. Buzz Lightyear. Mustache. What is that? I'm looking at your picture. Looks like weed nugs. Is that what that is? Buzz Lightyear with... It's probably not. It's a unique picture, though. I like it. Should we continue to play tech when we move to the SEC? You talking football? You talking basketball, Josh? I saw, and I'm sure a lot of y'all saw this on Twitter too. I think Kyle Umlang retweeted it. A very interesting and kind of cool proposed SEC football schedule for when the Longhorns and the Sooners leave the Big 12. And they had all the SEC games in there, and they also had like a scheduled non-conference game. I'm searching for it on my phone. Yeah, annual non-conference opponent. And this graphic, this is not coming from the SEC offices. This is just a fan who put this together. I think they did a pretty good job for the most part. But the graphic has Texas playing Texas Tech as that annual non-conference opponent. It's got like South Carolina playing Clemson like they always do, Florida playing Florida State like they always do, Oklahoma playing Oklahoma State as the annual non-con matchup for OU. So, yeah, look, I wouldn't hate it. I think it's fun. I've got a lot of friends who went to Texas Tech. I consider them a rival. They're not Oklahoma level. They're not Texas A&M level, of course. And the rivalry will lessen a little bit once Texas goes to the SEC. There's no doubt about that. Like Arkansas will, for some people, Arkansas is already ahead of Texas Tech. For my generation, not really, because we haven't been in the same conference as Arkansas for a long time. But I wouldn't mind playing Texas Tech every year. I wouldn't mind if we didn't, but I think it's fun. In-state trash talk. I feel like a lot of y'all probably disagree, though. I think the majority of Texas fans, not a vast, but I think the majority of Texas fans don't care for Texas Tech, and they'd be more than fine with that game not happening in football or basketball, any sport. Agreed with you, JP. This team is in a good spot. This Texas basketball team. How do I feel the offense can be fixed for the Longhorns? You know, going back and rewatching that game on Saturday, I didn't think Texas's execution was that bad. At times it was. At times they had some bad possessions, and that happens with any college basketball team. That happens. That definitely happens with the Chris Beard team. But they got a lot of good looks, especially early in the second half. It was tied at halftime. Tech got out to a decent lead early in the second half. They got off to a great run. And there was like a 10-minute stretch spanning the end of the first half and the start of the second half where Texas didn't have a field goal. And I saw people on Twitter like, oh, this offense sucks. They were getting a lot of good looks. They couldn't make them. Now, you could argue that they should have been more aggressive and try to get to the free throw line a little bit more, because when Texas basketball is at its best offensively, they are being aggressive, they are attacking the paint, and they are getting free points at the charity stripe. So you can make that claim, and I wouldn't have too much beef with it. But they were executing fairly well and getting some good mid-range and good three-point looks. They just weren't knocking them down. I don't put too much of that on Chris Beard. Like, you can maybe get mad at him for not getting more shooters on this roster. And hopefully he addresses that this offseason and in off seasons to come. But like at times, the offensive execution for the Longhorns was not bad. And that was against Texas Tech, who's one of the best defensive teams in all of college basketball. So I don't know. I mean, against Kansas, this offense put up nearly 80 like a couple of weeks ago. Look, the simple answer would be you got to get more from Marcus Carr and Timmy Allen. Those are your two most important players. They combined for 6 points on 2 of 12 shooting. You're not going to beat a team as good as Texas Tech if you get that type of production from your two leading scorers. That's just unacceptable. Timmy Allen did nothing against Tech this year in either game. So he's the facilitator. He's not a point guard, but he kind of feels like a point guard, point forward, if you will, for Texas. If he's not doing anything, then all right, you don't have too much of a shot to win. Texas played so poorly on Saturday, guys. It's almost amazing that they were even in that game against Texas Tech. But yeah, you need more from those guys. I would love Andrew Jones to stay hot. He's been great the last couple of games. If you get Andrew Jones, if you get that version of Andrew Jones with the version of Timmy Allen we saw against Kansas, and we saw last week against, it'll come to me. Whatever. If you get good Timmy Allen combined with good Andrew Jones, then okay. That'll fix the offense. That'll help things a lot. Getting Jace Fabris to be a little bit more consistent would be pretty nice too. Who am I thinking of? Oh, Oklahoma. Yeah, Timmy Allen was very good against Oklahoma. How could I forget? The midweek game last week for the Longhorns. Yeah, it's frustrating, Hayden. Both games against Texas Tech, Timmy Allen was a no-show. He was awesome against Oklahoma. I consider that a big game. He was awesome against Kansas. I'd consider that a big game. That's the biggest one of the year for the Longhorns right now. 24 against the Jayhawks, if memory serves. But yeah, that's Texas Tech and Baylor. Look, Timmy Allen's just not a great athlete. He's a smart, savvy, creative player, and he's put up some numbers over the course of his college career dating back to his days at Utah. 1,000-point scorers, like those don't come around often. He's had a great college career. But against better athletes, against length, he's undersized. He plays sort of a big man's game, but he's not a big man. And he's just not fast enough to blow by defenders off the dribble. So his best basketball is cutting, finding holes and lapses in an opposing defense and attacking there. Good defensive teams aren't going to give you those opportunities that often. So, yeah, length, size, athleticism cause problems for Timmy Allen. They cause problems for Texas. That's what this team just doesn't have enough of this year. That's what's going to cause their demise come March. Yeah, Trey Mitchell not being there obviously hurts too. Would love to get him back. Once again, I don't have an update. I'll try to investigate a little bit, see what I can find for y'all. I don't know if anybody has any information about Trey Mitchell right now. Still away from the team due to personal reasons. Hopefully everything's okay with him and his family. Wishing him all the best. But yeah, obviously Texas isn't the same without him. They don't have a lot of front court depth anyways. And without Trey Mitchell, gets a little worse. Thank you, Sophie. Appreciate you. It's my sister. 2K subscribers. Appreciate all of y'all. Thank you guys for helping me get to 2K. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. Tap that notification bell so you always know whenever I drop new content too. And like this video if you'd be so kind. Go for about 5 more minutes tonight. Any questions, thoughts, whatever else is on y'all's mind, let me know. I'll try to hit everything before I sign off. Bucky calls Timmy Allen 5'8". That's funny. Yeah, at times he plays like he's 5'8". And on Saturday, look like that. He was non-existent. He ended up with 6 points, but I think he was scoreless until like the final 5 minutes, and then Marcus Carr was awful. Like, this team doesn't have a true point guard. I think Marcus Carr can be a point guard. And look, he's a score-first guy. He's not a facilitate-first type of player. He's doing more of that this year than he did at Minnesota. Like, at Minnesota, he just had to be everything. He was judge, jury, and executioner for that Golden Gopher offense because they just didn't have a lot of talent around him, especially after Jordan Murphy left. But here, a different role. He's being less aggressive, which at times is frustrating because I know how good of a scorer he is. But Saturday was just, I don't know what he was doing. Looked like he was in his own head. Like, he wanted to be aggressive and then got passive at the last second, and it led to some bad turnovers and some forced shots, and it was bad Marcus Carr on Saturday. He and Timmy Allen are the two most important players for the Longhorns. Part of me is amazed that Texas was in this game against a top 10 team without anything from either of those two guys. Like, it's not a moral victory by any stretch. But those guys are important. You got to get more from those dudes. Otherwise, your stay in March isn't going to be too long. 2 for 12 combined for those guys. Goodness gracious. Timmy Allen fouled out. He was in foul trouble the whole game. Marcus Carr, 0 of 6. 4 turnovers. 2 assists, 4 turnovers. And just, yikes. I don't even think I had seen that stat until just now. The eye test told me it was ugly. The box score makes it look even worse. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I'm with you, Hayden. Texas got a lot of good looks in this game. They missed them. Frustrating. Could they have been more aggressive? Sure, but man, shot 28% from the floor, and we're within a point with a minute and a half to go. 8 of 26 from beyond the arc. Like, look, give credit to Texas Tech's defense, one of the best defensive teams in the country. There's no doubt about that. But a lot of that was just Texas missing shot after shot after shot after shot. Yeah. So TCU coming up on Wednesday. I'll do a video previewing them before that game. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe Wednesday. I don't know. 6 o'clock tip in Austin. Texas, of course, took care of business against TCU in Fort Worth earlier this season. West Virginia on the road on Saturday. Texas beat them in Austin to open up conference play. And then the 2 against Baylor and Kansas. So you'd like to win these 2 this week. I'm glad Texas got 1 last week because at Oklahoma could have been a loss. Obviously, a close game, went to overtime, went down to the final seconds. But to get that one was big. Did not want to go 0-2 against OU and Tech. And that win against Oklahoma made Texas a lock in the NCAA tournament, according to me, but also according to ESPN. They do this bubble watch thing that they update all the time, and they've got locks. They've got like 3 different categories within conferences. Locks, should be in, and work to do. Texas was in the should be in category for a while, and then they got that win in Norman, and they became a lock. So that was a big win for a number of reasons. So going 1-1 last week, not the worst thing in the world. Obviously would have preferred 2-0. But would love to go 2-0 this week. Once again, I think Texas will be favored in both games. Home against TCU, at West Virginia. Would like to get those 2. If you get those 2, you get the 10 conference wins, which ensures that you're over 500 in conference play. Probably means you're a 4 seed in the Big 12 tournaments. And then, look, obviously, if you could beat Baylor and or Kansas to end the year, that'd be freaking incredible. Would love that. Love a 4-game winning streak going into postseason play. I think we'd all feel pretty damn good about Texas hoops if they win these last 4 games, including wins against Baylor and a win at Allen Fieldhouse. Not predicting that, not expecting that, but that would change the tone of Twitter Spaces post games. That's for damn sure. But yeah, then the real fun starts as the calendar hits March. Getting close, guys. Best postseason in sports. Can't wait. Happy to be a part of it. The stress of March Madness is agonizing, but I'm glad we'll be able to stress about it. Hopefully it's a longer time to stress than what we had last year. Goodness gracious. All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for today's video. Mainly Texas basketball talk. I wanted to talk more Texas baseball, but that's all right. They were awesome. We'll do that for a future video. Great start to the year for David Pearson Company. 36-3 dominant sweep over the Rice Owls. Fun to watch. Yeah, Texas basketball, everything's going to be fun. If you're just joining me, it's the main purpose of today's video. They'll be okay. Sports fan, appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you very much. That means the world to me. Really does. Appreciate you stopping by. You're a big part of this thing. I know you join a lot of the live streams, so thank you for your continued love and support, and really appreciate that super chat, man. That is awesome. The fire Elmo meme too is pretty cool. I dig it. I dig it. All right, guys. Thanks to all of you for watching, for commenting. Do appreciate the continued love and support. Thanks again for 2K, man. That means the world to me. All right, guys. Until next time, y'all stay safe. Y'all stay healthy. And hook 'em.